Hello, my name is Roman Harkovsky. In this demonstration now, I will show you the differences between various application servers and how they handle restart, application deployment, redeployment, the memory footprint, the disk footprint, and some other characteristics of application servers from a developer perspective. I have put together a summary table which I will describe in my blog article. And in that table, I have compiled statistics for these application servers all on one page. Again, this is from a developer perspective. I'll post a detailed article. And in this demo, I wanted to show you the scripts that I've used to run these tests. And you'll see how I run the same test for Liberty application server, for WebSphere Classic, for Tomcat, Tomy, JD, Glassfish, WebLogic, Wildfly, and JBoss. All of these are the latest version as of today. I downloaded all of the software last week, ran the tests, same tests that I've done a couple of years ago, but this time was the latest application servers. And I'll comment on some of these items, the application restart, the download size, and other things through this demo. So I hope it doesn't turn into a very long demo. But there are a lot of data and a lot of details, so bear with me. So let's start with application server stop and start and the application redeploy. So these are the two tasks that I automated because I ran those tests repeatedly. I wrote a bash script to measure all of this stuff. The other items, like number of configuration files and download size and all of those things, I just measured on the disk or in memory, and they're not just repeatable test scripts, they were done manually. So let's look at the scripts. First of all, let me show you what I got. I have the directory structure where in this folder, first of all, I'm using two different JDKs for JD, Tomcat, JBoss, WebLogic, and Glassfish and others. I'm using Oracle JDK 1.8 build 60, that's the latest. For Liberty Profile, it ships with IBM JDK 1.8, so I'm using that, and it's just a tiny bit faster than Oracle JDK, not by much, but a little bit, so I'm using that for Liberty Profile. Now, in terms of servers, I unzipped all of the servers, and I'm using Jetty, Tomcat. It's just a simple unzip operation, the very easy install for most of these servers. And WebSphere App Server Classic is installed, and everything else is installed in this directory. And finally, I have the scripts directory. This is where all of the scripts are, and in the server configurations directory, I have the configuration files for servers. So for instance, for Wildfly and JBoss, I have standalone XML. The reason I use that is that the scan interval, I set it to 100 millisecond so that the deployments are done faster. I don't want to wait for 5 or 10 seconds for redeployment to happen, because in a development environment I don't need to wait that long. So that's for JBoss and Wildfly. For Tomy and for Tomcat, I have background processor delay to 1 second, so that again it doesn't have to wait those default 10 seconds for redeployment to happen. Again, same thing for Tomcat. For Jetty, I have Jenkins configuration, which I'm not using the Jenkins, so we're not going to be using that. I'll be using Hello World application. And for Liberty, I have the simple application with JSP feature enabled, and 9080 port number. So that's fairly simple. For application, I have Hello World application, JSP servlet. I did test Jenkins, and I'll write about that in my blog. It works on all servers, but I don't think Jenkins is representative of a real application that's built by using Java EE standards. It's heavily Spring, and it's not really the typical Java EE application, although it does work on all of these servers. And I have a couple of setup scripts. These are only using for initial configuration. If I needed to enable the admin console, then I can change configuration in WebLogic or JBoss. So that's used just once. Now, the main scripts are all in this directory. First of all, I can switch between the JDK. So for instance, I could use IBM JDK or Oracle JDK. And I'm not doing any builds here, so I disabled and so forth. So let me disable IBM JDK. Let me run some tests on Oracle JDK, and Liberty runs on either Oracle or IBM JDK. And like I said, the performance difference is not huge, so for the purpose of this demo, I'll just run on Oracle JDK. Now the results will be sent into the text file. So once I run the test, all of the results will be in this file. So you could see some results here. It will be generated later. I have the utils.sh. In this case, I have list of servers that I want to test. So Glassfish, Tomcat, JD, JBoss, Wildfly, Tommy, WebLogic, WebSphere, and Liberty. So let me actually put Liberty first, just for the fun of it. List of tasks. So the tasks, I have multiple different tasks in my tests. I'm not going to enable all of them. So I'll just do 2 tasks. Restart existing server with the app. So that's a typical developer task, or even deployment. So I'll have the deployment of the app already done. All I want to measure is how fast does it take me to stop and start the server with that app enabled. And I also have redeploy hello world in a running server without having to stop the server. And then after those tests are done, I will stop the server. Now, I don't need to repeat it 7 times for the demo. So for the demo, I'll just do it once. You could see that in the script you can configure Jenkins or Hello World. So for the default app, in my case, I'll use just Hello World. I have some sleep times, so you don't really need to change any of this stuff if you want to run these tests. And you can see some of the things that I do to set up the scripts for Hello World application, the test URL. For instance, the way that I measure the startup time of the server is not when the log message arrives, but rather when the first page of the application is served through HTTP. So I'll show you how that works a little bit later. And you can see some of the scripts that I wrote to measure stuff. Stop application, start application, test deployment, test undeployment, and that kind of thing. Now the script that I will run is this one, run.sh. So in run.sh you don't need to change anything, but it just iterates through my servers, iterates through my tasks, however many times I need to repeat the test, and it calls the script that's called one.sh. So this script one.sh, that's where you can add your own tasks. So for instance, the one that we will be using, restart existing server with app. So what I do, I set up the app, and it's not included in the timer. Stop server, remove server, create server, started, deploy the old application, wait until it's deployed, sleep a little bit. Now we start the timer, and we measure the server restart. So we stop server, start server, and we check that the application is running, basically doing the wget from the HTTP, and we stop the timer. So we just tested that the server has been restarted and the app is serving HTTP requests. So it's very simple. Another test that we will do is redeploy application. So the redeploy of the application is, here it is, redeploy app in running server. So some prep tasks, so we stop server, clean it up, and do that kind of thing, and we start the timer, and then we deploy new version of the application, and then it's 0-second sleep in this case, and then we wait for application to serve the page, and we stop the timer. So it's running server, and we just redeploy new WAR file. It's basically copy the new file. So deploy new app, if we search for it, for deploy new app, it's in utils So deploy new app, we assign the test string, and we deploy app, which deploy app basically it copies the war file into the destination directory, and then what it does, it just it just copies the app, and then it will wait until the application has been deployed. So it's fairly easy. Okay, so let me show you how this works. So set the environment and run the test. So when I run the test, you could see again, first server was Liberty, and first it's waiting until the server will start. Now you could see that it's waiting for application deployment, and we're sleeping in the script for 6 seconds. Now it's stopping the server, starting the server, and you could see the application was served, the Hello Servlet application, it worked. It's gone very quickly, so I don't have time to show that in the browser. Actually, let me open the browser and let me see if that application is running. Okay, so it already is finished with Liberty and it stopped Liberty. So let me open the Glassfish. So just so you can see the application. Alright, so there is a Glassfish. And what I'm doing when I'm testing that the application is running, I'm searching for this string. So basically HTTP needs to be served by that servlet. Now if I refresh, most likely the the Glassfish has been shut down by this time because it happens very quickly. And it is starting it again. Alright, now if I refresh, okay, so it served the request 4, 5, 6, 7. Again, when I do my measured tests, I don't open the browser. I just let it run in the background. Now it is testing. Now you could see this is Glassfish. Now it is testing the Tomcat. Now if you could see Glassfish server. Now if I refresh, and alright, so let me see. Okay, now it's running in Tomcat. It's the same application running in Tomcat. So it's basically iterates through all of the servers, measures how long it takes to do those steps, and it records it into the results file. So if we wait a little bit, now it's testing Jetty. So if I start Jetty, not found. Now it did find it. Servlet info is Jetty. It's the same application, same everything. Now being served by Jetty. Now after Jetty, it's gonna go start other tests. Now this is doing redeployment tests. So from version 1.13, it will deploy new version of Hello World, which is 1.14. There we go. So it's 1.14. And it will just measure how long it takes to redeploy in Jetty. So now it's doing JBoss test. Now if I hit refresh, now this is being served by JBoss. And again, it tests the server restart time and the application redeployment time. So we'll just let it run in the background a little bit. In the meantime, while it's running, you could see the results already show up in this file. So you could see Liberty results, restart server, or restart server, redeploy application, and stop server. So you could see the times that it take for every server. And then what I can do, I can just open the Excel spreadsheet and copy paste those results. And you could see it shows the measured time, 3.39 seconds. Now it is testing the Wildfly server right here, so you could see it's testing Wildfly. So let's refresh the page. Right, so this is from Wildfly result. So we'll let it run a little bit. While it's running in the background, I also looked at the server memory usage. So for instance, for Wildfly, 289 megabyte of memory. If I showed you this when Liberty was running, then what you would see is roughly this. So Liberty on IBM JVM took 59 megabyte. WebSphere full profile takes 175 megabyte. This is RAM. And again, it's not a production configuration, it's just a developer environment. Tomcat takes 2.5 times more memory than WebSphere Liberty profile. Tommy takes even more memory, 236 megabyte. Again, you can configure that in the heap, all of the heap options and other JVM parameters in configuration file, but I'm using a default configuration. I haven't changed anything for Liberty or WebSphere full profile or Tomcat. So all of these are out of the box. So you could see that Liberty is the most memory efficient, where JBoss is actually using the most amount of memory, 430 megabyte. Glassfish is second in terms of the size of the memory. Even Jetty is using more memory. Now, if I'm using Liberty profile on Oracle JDK, then it does use more than 59 megabyte, but on IBM JDK, it is very, very memory efficient. The download size, while my tests are running, so it's doing the WebLogic testing now. So while it's running, I'll just use this time to go through some of the items here. Let me explain this server stop and start from all of the average tests that I ran many times, and I averaged it out. So you could see the fastest server to start and stop and start is JD, 3.1 second, followed by WebSphere Liberty, followed by Tomcat. Now, Tommy and JBoss and Wildfly takes roughly twice as long to stop and start compared to Liberty profile or Tomcat, and then Glassfish as well and WebLogic takes longer, and WebSphere full profile takes even longer, 34 seconds. But the thing for WebSphere full profile is I used this measurement from the command line, and it takes a long time to start WSAdmin script because I have to start it 2 times, once for the stop command and once for the start command. So if I was using Eclipse or WebSphere developer tool for Eclipse, it does not use WSAdmin. It will start WebSphere about twice as fast because it doesn't use WSAdmin. But I'm using WSAdmin timing in this configuration. In terms of application redeployment, the 3 champions were Liberty with 1.2 second, and Wildfly and JBoss, same 1.2 second, followed by roughly twice as long application redeployment in Tomcat and Jetty and Glassfish and Tommy. WebSphere full profile took 6.1 second to redeploy, but again there are some delays, so in reality it takes faster if you script that, but in my case I couldn't send the redeployment interval set to 5 seconds by default, and you cannot set it to anything lower than 5 seconds in WebSphere when you use command line. In Eclipse it would be much faster, but in command line where hot deployment, the hard limit on the bottom is 5 seconds, so that's why it takes 6.1 seconds. In Eclipse it's much faster. The download size, Liberty, if you download Liberty just kernel, it's only 11 megabyte download, very similar to Tomcat download size or JD. Now Liberty also comes in different packages. You can download web profile or you can download full Java EE7 profile, which comes with a lot more APIs than you get with Tomcat. So the full Java EE7 is 94 megabyte download. Yes, it is bigger than Tomcat or Tommy or JD, but it's full Java EE7, something that you do not get from Tomcat or Tommy. And in fact, Liberty Java EE7 download is less than Glassfish, less than Wildfly, less than JBoss. Now, WebSphere full profile is 3 gigabytes, so obviously it is a large download. When you install Liberty, it is also very small depending on the configuration that you install. Again, if you just install the kernel itself, it's about 15 meg, smaller than Tomcat, but for full Java EE7, it's 123 megabyte. This does not include JDK. The JDK is roughly 250 megabyte, and it's the same size for all of these servers, so I did not include JDK size in this row. Now you can create multiple profiles or extra instances for each server. So you have one install location like this, you install it once, and then you can have multiple profiles, multiple instances running off of the same installation. So in case of Liberty, every extra profile takes about half a megabyte, very similar to Tomcat or Tommy or JD. For WebSphere Classic takes 40 megabyte, Glassfish takes 96 megabyte, Wildfly and JBoss 1.5, 1.2 megabyte. The time it takes to install Liberty is roughly 5 seconds because you just unzip and then you just set the JDK Java home directory. Very similar across the board for all servers except for WebSphere Classic, which takes about 30 minutes to install because you have to install it through IBM Installation Manager, which itself needs to be installed, and then you apply fixes and updates. So it is a lengthy process, unfortunately. In terms of number of configuration files, Liberty has one configuration file. You can extend it if you want. You can use includes, and if you prefer to split it out into multiple files, you can. But by default, WebSphere only has one configuration file. Again, what I have here is for Liberty profile. That's a pretty small configuration file if you ask me. You can add multiple features on the fly, and there is no bloat in this configuration file. That's how it starts. It's completely functional. It works out of the box. So that's the entire configuration file for Liberty. For JBoss, the configuration file, the core configuration file is one, but there are lots of different complementary property files and other configuration files. The reason actually, let me go to the servers directory for JBoss. So if I go to my JBoss configuration, you could see that I have different configuration files in different places, and you don't have to update all of them, just some of them, and you could see some of them are provided as templates and some of them are provided as a core configuration file, such as this one. So you could see there are a lot of properties here, and there's XSD provided, so it helps to understand the file, but it is very complex compared to Liberty, and there are a lot more of those extra properties included that you have to change. I think from a developer standpoint, Liberty is much easier to handle. WebSphere Classic has lots of configuration files, and the preferred way of managing WebSphere Classic is through the admin console or WSAdmin scripts if it's in production. Tomcat has several configuration files, Tommy has few extra, JD has several configuration files, Glassfish, WebLogic, and again JBoss and Wildfly have few of them, one being the main configuration file and then other supplementary. Something that's really important to developers, but as well as in operations, is the dynamic configuration updates. So 99, maybe even 99.9% in Liberty, you can change whatever configuration you want in that server configuration file, and Liberty picks it up on the fly. You don't have to restart the server. You can add components, you can remove components, you can change HTTP ports, you can add or change security settings. It's all dynamic. About 80% of the time in WebSphere and WebLogic, the changes are made dynamically. And about 80% of the time the changes are static in JD, Tommy, Tomcat, and Glassfish, which means 20% of the time you don't have to restart the servers, but 80% of the time when you make those changes, you do have to restart them. JBoss is about 60%. Changes can be made dynamically, like you can add JDBC data sources connection pools, but for things like security and some logging and events and some of the port numbers and so forth, you do have to recycle JBoss. So it is not nearly as dynamic as Liberty or even WebSphere Classic. In terms of the integrated development environment, Most all of these servers have plugins for Eclipse, IntelliJ, and NetBeans, so there are some minor differences, but I don't think there is any huge big difference between those plugins. And by the way, in terms of the developer license, IBM provides free developer license for Liberty and WAS Classic, so you don't have to pay. You download IBM Developer Tools for Eclipse, WDK, WebSphere Developer Tools, WDT, and you can use the Developer Tools Eclipse plugin and the runtime for free. Obviously, Tomcat and Tommy come with Apache 2.0 license, and they're free for development as well as for production. Jetty can be used for free with Eclipse license. Glassfish could be used for free, and Oracle discontinued support, so that's why in the support line here I'm showing that in development, as long as you have at least one license of WebSphere in production, IBM will give you no charge developer support. With Tomcat, Tommy, Jetty, and Glassfish, you will be self-supporting, perhaps using forums. Oracle withdrew official commercial support for Glassfish. You would have to pay for developer support with Oracle. Developer license is free for WebLogic. Wildfly and JBoss come with LGPL license, and they're free in development. The difference is Wildfly you will be self-supporting. With JBoss you get Red Hat support for developers as long as you have current subscription for JBoss. Now, let's see, in terms of the developer APIs, there's a big difference between these servers. So Liberty, starting with 8556 as of June 2015, it now is Java EE7 certified. It was Java EE7 6 web profile certified, but now it is a full Java EE7 server. WebSphere Classic is fully certified for Java EE6 with some elements of Java EE7, and there is a statement of direction for full Java EE7 certification. Tomcat is just JSP Servlet Engine, and it will never be Java EE7 certified. Now, Tommy takes Tomcat, adds certain elements to Tomcat, and it makes it Java EE6 web profile certified. Jetty, like Tomcat, is JSP Servlet Engine, so it's not Java EE7 certified. Glassfish, obviously, because it's a Java EE7 reference implementation, it is Java EE7 certified. WebLogic is only Java EE6. Wildfly is Java EE7 certified, where JBoss EAP is still on Java EE6 certification level. In terms of the programming APIs, if you look at my other blog article where I talked about the programming model, here it is. So this blog article on programming model in Java, I updated it just in the middle of September. So you could see some specifics on API support in these servers. So you could see for every server, Liberty, WAS Classic, Tommy, Tomcat, TC Server, and JBoss, which APIs are supported, which are not supported, and you can read some extra details in this document on what does it mean to you as a developer. So now, let's see. Well, the tests are finished now, and we can see the results in the log file. So here's a log file with results. So you could see the timings, and you could see restart server, redeploy application. So roughly these are about the same results that I have in my table in this table. So you could see, for instance, 4.9 second stop and start and 1.2 second redeploy for Liberty. Now because it's on Oracle JDK for WebSphere Liberty profile, the stop and start just a tiny bit longer. On IBM JDK it is faster, but the redeployment is about the same. And then you could see the other times for other servers. So again, if you wanted to run these scripts, feel free to download it. It's all in my folder on Microsoft OneDrive. I will link to the scripts from my blog article on ywebster.com, so you can download the scripts, you can change them, you can add new tests, you can remove new old tests. For every server, for instance, if you install Liberty in a certain directory, what you do, you go into that directory, you edit liberty.sh, and what you have here is server installed here. So I have server home, and then I point to the place where I installed Liberty. So that's really the only thing you need to change here. And then if you want, you can change the port number, and then I have some commands specific to the server that I wrote. So for instance, for WebLogic, you can see I installed WebLogic in this directory. For Tomcat, I installed it in this directory. So again, I have the servers directory where I have all of these servers installed, and then I point to the server directory in the setenv.sh file. So all of the servers are in the same directory, and then specific directory names like for JD and others, I just update relative to that server home directory. And then again, for stopping and starting the server, I have specific commands that I wrote in here that you could reuse, and feel free to change these scripts and play with it yourself. And I hope this was useful. Thank you very much, and good luck.